To His Excellency the Governor, the Premier David Burt, Leader of the Opposition Mr. King, the judiciary members, and heads of civil service departments, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to say welcome to this, the annual prayer breakfast, which we usually have every year with the opening of Parliament. However, Parliament is not proroguing this year, but we are having our breakfast at the same time as we usually do. It's always a pleasure to say welcome to so many members of Parliament and members of the judiciary. I'd just like to say a special welcome to those members who are new to the legislature. It was just to remind you, I know exactly what you're going through. Because it was 50 years ago, I was a new member of Parliament. Yes. But however, there was an interest of responsibility, respect for those who had selected me, and the responsibility is very heavy on your shoulders. And I know that you will do an excellent job, particularly when you think of those people that you're representing. Today, we have with us a person who I must recognize. We don't normally have seniors with us, but we have a very special senior with us this morning, Mrs. Isola Harvey. Who is just shy of 100 years old. And we're very happy to have her with us this morning. This year has been an interesting year for our committee. Unfortunately, we have lost two of our members, Dr. Melvin Bassett and one other member, excuse me, Michael Marcus. And their families are here representing them this morning, and we want to thank them for the contribution that they made to this organization. We miss them and respect their families. Fortunately, we've had two new members, Mrs. Renee Ming and Mr. Marcus Jones, former Senator Marcus Jones, who has joined this committee and are helping us very much. This year, we will have two persons who will be giving us music, Mrs. Rakesha Binns, yes, excuse me, my memory is getting shaky too. But that's only humor when you get as old as I am, you know. And so we're going to ask you that if you would just stand and take a half a minute's silence for our two members who passed. Thank you very much. We're going to ask Mrs. Binns to come and give her selections, and following that, we're going to have a violin soloist as well. Thank you very much.
When I think of integrity and service, there are two scriptures that come to mind. For integrity, it's guard your heart, because out of it flows the issues of life. And for service, it's your talents and your gifts will make way for you and place you amongst great men. And so with these two things in mind, I'm reminded, I know I've tried life without God, and I've tried life with God, and with Him is so much better. Because at the end of the day, in Him, I am always the best version of myself. And so I hope this song blesses you when we step up to the plate to become that which God has created us to be. We are truly successful. We can spend time doing a lot of good things, but when we do that thing that we were created for, we have made our way. So I hope you're blessed. I need the violinist. journey of life, there are winding roads, mountains high and valleys low. Though the road ahead may be unknown, I'm so focused on the prize that's worth pressing for. I will be what you've called me to be. I say yes, Lord, I agree. My desire passionately is to be what you've called me to be. That's what I'll be. Oh, road signs read destiny. I'll follow wherever you lead. Nothing can hinder me, for the prize is all I see. All I see. I will be what you've called me to be. I say yes, Lord, I agree. My desire passionately is to be what He's called me to be. That's what I'll be. Oh God, I will be what you call me to be. Oh, I see it, Lord. I agree. My desire, passionately, what He's called me, that's what I'll be. If I can have a testimony in the building saying you will be what God has called you to be, that you will do the very thing that He created you for, that you will be able to lead with integrity in service. I say yes, Lord, I agree. My desire is passionately, I'll be what you call me to be. Oh, that's what I'll be. Yes. Thank you. Yes to His will. Yes to His way. I will line up and follow my King as He leads me along this way. I say yes and surrender. Oh, yes. Yes, Lord. If you guide me, lead me, I'll agree. I lift my hands and surrender. Yes to your will, yes to your way. Oh God, I agree. Oh, I say yes. Wherever you lead me, Lord. Yes. Yes, Lord. I say yes. what He's called me to be. I say yes. Lord, I agree. My desire, my honest desire, passionately is to be what you call me to be. That's what I'll be. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Today's reading is from Proverbs chapter 20, verses 5 through 7. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Thank you.
Good morning, all. I am here to deliver the prayer for the nation. So I ask that you close your eyes and look to the Lord. Dear God of all nations, we lift our nations worldwide to you and our beloved island, Bermuda. We ask that you look upon the leaders globally and here on island and grant them the wisdom, integrity, humility, commitment to justice and to peace, and the courage to be leaders of integrity. We ask that they be leaders who truly put the needs of the people and country first, with an ever watchful eye for the well-being of especially the poor and marginalized, the weak, and the vulnerable. We ask that the leaders in their administration, whether the executive, legislators, judiciary, or clergy, operate under the umbrella of impartiality and fairness. God, we ask that in these tumultuous times that our leaders raise high the agendas for peace over conflict, for relief to those affected by disaster, and for an increased awareness of community and for justice. God, with all the wealth throughout this world and throughout the communities, let access to the basic things such as shelter, food, education, legal protection, and health care be the focal point of our leaders, and that through their prevailing governments, they ensure this priority for their people. Lord, you alone know the extent to which such is needed. The common good for all must be first. Lord, so that we might have communities free of political instability, free of discrimination, free of war, free of poverty and inequity, let us remember to come to you in prayer. We ask for a deeper sense of faith, hope, and love to spread across the world. We ask for divine guidance for all individuals, communities, governments, countries, and that we seek you, God, for your cover and protection so that each step we take is for and remains for the common good. When we leave here today, God, let us be mindful of the immense responsibility we have in our respective domains and work life. Let us be guided by this under the mantra of goodwill for all. Let us move forward with a renewed purpose and sharp focus to bring about this goodwill. And let every effort, word, and action reflect goodwill, commitment, fairness, justice, and humility in our goings on, so that each person feels confident that we serve them in this vein. God, bless all nations, bless their people, and God, bless Bermuda.
Good morning. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2 Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
Good morning. You sound like you're asleep. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Anytime I've been asked to introduce any speaker, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do so. But you also want to be able to know that person, because you're going to know him better after today. But me personally wanted to get to know him. So anytime I'm asked, I say, well, most important question for me, are you Somerset or are you St. George's? So I can tell you today we're in the right space, because he is the St. George's Cup match supporter. Yeah, he's from Harris's Bay. He supports Cleveland County Cricket Club. He loves to cook, and upon reflection of his life, he realizes just how important St. George's is to him in terms of his familial roots. So I think we have a great speaker today, personally. There may be others that disagree. Our guest speaker, Mr. Gil Tucker. Mr. Tucker was educated in Bermuda at Harrington Sound Primary School and Saltus Grammar School before continuing his studies overseas at the Williston Northampton School and Boston College, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting and marketing. He began his professional career with Ernst & Young, EY, working in both the United States and Bermuda offices, and later served as country managing partner until his retirement in 2015. During his tenure, he was also a member of the regional executive team overseeing the firm's operations in the Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, and the Cayman Islands. Mr. Tucker has contributed extensively to public service and community development in Bermuda. He has served on numerous government boards, including those for tourism and education, and currently sits on the Financial Policy Council. His past leadership roles include the chairman of the Bermuda First, the Hospitality Institute, and the Career Center, as well as president of the Hamilton Rotary Club. He also served on the HSBC Bermuda Board as chairman of the Audit and Risk Committee and spent 2 decades on the Saltus Grammar School Board of Trustees, the last 13 years as its chairman. Born and raised in Harris's Bay, Mr. Tucker remains an active supporter of Cleveland County Cricket Club. He is married to Beverly, and together they have 2 adult children, Alana and Rodlin. Next person you see at the podium is Mr. Tucker. Thank you.
The Premier, the Leader of the Opposition, the U.S. Council, and the Bishop of Bermuda. I think if I messed up, I apologize. And I also want to, again, highlight Mrs. Isola Harvey. She's a good friend of mine. I recognize her whenever she's in an audience because Mrs. Harvey, along with her late husband Gerald and several others, I think built the foundation of modern Bermuda. And the opportunities afforded me and the career that I've had were built on their foundation. So I make it a habit whenever she's in the room, I recognize her. Now, also, I want to say, if you see me perspiring, it's not because I'm nervous, because I know a lot of you in the room and I'm very comfortable. But I've been taking some, I'm a cancer survivor, and I've been taking some medicine which makes me perspire. And I've said that once, I think it was in a board meeting at HSBC. I said to people, I've just come back from the hospital. If you see me perspiring, don't get alarmed, don't call the ambulance. It's just, that's the effect. And all the men in the room said, oh, poor guy, and all the women said, welcome to my world. They offered me a fan and said, get on with it. And I was actually made an honorary woman at the Ernst & Young International Women's Conference in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it was a shifting moment, a paradigm shift. After they made me an honorary woman, I became smarter. I became more compassionate, more cooperative. So thank you. Now let us see here. I want to say it's an honor to be here. I appreciate it. I did not know much about this breakfast at all, except my uncle Reginald Burroughs was a big supporter of this. He talked about it all the time, both here in Bermuda and in Washington, D.C. So it's an honor. It really is an honor to be here. Now, I didn't know what I would want to speak about. And I was told, just speak about what keeps you up at night. Well, in today's world, that does not narrow down my topics at all. There's a lot to keep you up at night. But I've decided I will speak on what's dear to me, and that's Bermuda and her people, her young people in particular. I had a dialogue just briefly with the Premier. We were just remembering a time when he and I were chatting in that capacity. So I'm old. I think the biggest risk to Bermuda, and Bermuda has a lot of risks, let me say external and internal. Externally, a lot of our challenges come from the halls in Brussels, London, New York, and Washington. And I think successive governments have done a very good job, along with the Ministry of Finance, the BMA, and other agencies, in meeting the challenges. We can always do better, and they're coming at us constantly. We can't rest on our laurels. But overall, we continue to do a good job. The risk I want to talk about is our Bermudian people, our young people. And that's the risk of human capital. And that is very important, and I don't think we have the sense of urgency that we should have in this area. I really don't. I don't know what it says to us as a community where we march on Parliament over an airport, and we march on Parliament over the Uyghurs, as I recall. And I'm not saying that those things are not important. It's democracy in action. I support that. But we have had, in my view, as an employer, and having worked with young people, we are not getting the most out of our young people, and we need to do better. And it's a big risk. It's going to, the educational health of our young people is going to determine how we handle all the risks, some of which we don't even know about, that are going to come at us in the future. We must do a better job, I think. And let me say, my views are my views. They are not the views of any organization that I've been associated with, like HSBC, because I don't want Greg to be nervous that I might say something that would link him, or to Salters, or even to Ernst & Young. And particularly, I was asked to mention, do not reflect the views of the brew coffee group that I go to during the week. They all made it very clear that my views are my views alone. I may not be able to go back down there. Why is this important? I think because, to set the stage, Bermuda's small. It's 13,000 isolated acres. That's all it is. We have 65,000, 60, I'm not sure what the exact number is, but we have a small population. And we're asked to support and work in a $9 billion economy. Some say 8. I'm an accountant, but I'm not going to get picky on the numbers. It's a big economy and a huge gap between the size of our economy and the size of our population. So we need to get the best out of everyone in Bermuda going forward, okay? And I think when I look at where we are, we've just got some work to do. Our education system is not producing the results that it should. Now, I'm not blaming everyone in this room. Let me make a blanket statement. Everyone here is wonderful, okay? So I'm not here to criticize or look backwards. I want to be able to look forward and just make some suggestions or at least get people's attention to it. If we decide that we are going to really tackle this problem, we need to have an open and honest communication and dialogue. Bermuda, the world's changed. When I first came to Ernst & Young, the world, I always say, was like a fish tank. The global economy was a fish tank, and it had dividers in it. And when you have dividers in a fish tank, you can have different water levels. Each section or economy or country can have its own water levels. We're now in a global economy. And so all those dividers have been taken out. So now there's just one water level. And we have to compete in that water level, and we have to swim with the big fishes. And historical tools that we've used, like immigration, have a role to play, but they're not going to be as effective. The best chance for our young people is to provide them with the tools in order to compete. Because I'm here to tell you, whether we like to hear it or not, no Bermudian is guaranteed a job. They're just not anymore. Even if we want to, we can't. What they are guaranteed, we should guarantee them, is an opportunity to compete for those jobs. And we have an obligation to prepare these young people so they can best compete for those jobs. That's our role. I'm looking at my notes here. I'm not a speaker that likes to read. It doesn't work for me. I think when we look at education, and I'm just using it as an example, we look for magic bullets. We look for system changes. We look for, let's get rid of middle schools, let's not. Let's try this. All are valid. They're all valid. But that, to me, is not the issue. We in Bermuda, to be honest, like to study things. We like to look for a plan somewhere or to do something that someone's got a magic bullet. They may be good, but they're not going to fix our problem because, to be honest, our problem is execution. We don't execute. And the reason we don't execute is because, as well as we should, is because we're a very small community. It's hard. I used to tell my counterpart in New York he could discipline or fire an employee and never see him again. For me, I always hoped if I had to discipline an employee at EY, my first concern was that they weren't a relative, because that was going to make family reunions very difficult. And if they weren't a relative, after I did it, I'd see them in the grocery store. I'd see them in the school lines. And we're stuck on this little island. We all want to get along, so we don't like confrontation. We don't do it well as a community. And that makes it very difficult for our leaders to do completely their job. We need to have tough decisions made around a bunch of things, health, education, whatever. I happen to be picking on education, so not picking on it, but that's what I'm choosing to talk about. I would like to see us have that stronger dialogue and make some of the tough decisions. Our kids need it. They absolutely need it. We are trying to prepare our young people for jobs that don't even exist yet. We have to make them be lifelong learners. Because they're going to go out into the workplace. I tell the story that when I first started to work, I learned all this accounting stuff at university, and by the time I got into the workplace, it was outdated. Change has been a constant, but it is coming at us very quickly. I read somewhere where the telephone took 60 years to go from invention to being in everyone's home. And the smartphone went from nowhere to everywhere in a nanosecond. Stuff is coming at us so quickly, and so our young people have to be able to address that. If they're not, it's not like they can drive to the next town. They have to be able to work here. And we have to, again, continue to give them the best tools that we can. They need to be lifelong learners. We need to equip them with that. And I'm also worried, I'm talking mainly about public education. I sat on a private school board for years. So the 6 principal private schools in Bermuda educate about 50% of our population, our school population. I'm worried about the widening gap because the private schools doing a commercial are critical to Bermuda because they are the canary in a coal mine in a way. The difference between a CEO coming to Bermuda, buying a home, living here, spending his money, and him staying in Connecticut and flying in on Sunday and leaving on Thursday, that difference is the education their kids get in the private schools. So private schools are important. But the backbone of any society is the public school education. It is. Now, I understand that we're going to look at an education authority. I think that's a wise decision. We do need an education authority. I think to take it out of the hands of politicians is a good thing. I think the politicians can give general policy and goals for the nation, but the details and the tough decisions can be made through the authority. Because our kids are great. I've had a chance over the years to mingle with them. They're absolutely fantastic. And we have really, really good teachers. And we spend a lot of money. On a per capita basis, we spend a lot. But we're not getting the results. And my thing is, we should be angry at that. I don't understand why we're not really angry. I could say something else, but I'm not going to. So, the thing that I would say about the Education Authority is I think you're going to need, or we will need, someone with experience in change management. What we need is a paradigm shift. And you cannot ask people who are employed every day in a system to change it. A change management is a special skill. We only had a few of them in EY Global, and they would be located and they'd go all over the world helping clients make paradigm shift. You can't ask a teacher to make a paradigm shift in a system, not when they're in it. So I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not an educator. Somebody else will figure out whether to go left or right or what to do. But I think we do, my observation is you do really need someone with that skill. And oftentimes they come in, they make the really, really tough decisions, and then they leave. Because some of the decisions they have to make, they just can't continue to work with the people that have been affected by those decisions. They just can't. So it's built into the system. So I would suggest, and I'm not talking about a consultant, because consultants, I've been a consultant, I ran a consulting business. Consultants play a role, but they're not the answer. I'm talking about someone on our payroll who has our interest at heart and is not trying to sell us something that will help us make all the difficult decisions that need to be made around that. The other thing is I'd like to see closer interaction between business and education. Right now, I mean, I did it. Business does a great job. I do not want to say anything negative about business. They do a great job. First of all, they hire the people, but they have internships, they have scholarships, they donate time, and they donate equipment. But I sat in my office, and I said this to the Bermuda College at their last strategic planning session. I sat at my office, and never once in my career at EY did I have someone from a high school or the Bermuda College come to my office and ask me, what are the jobs of the future? Where's Bermuda going? What are your needs going to be? Help us give input into the curriculum. I never had that, and that's what we need. You need to keep the people that are going to be doing the jobs, you need to keep them very, very close to education. You can't have education over here and business over here. And it makes no sense, again, to invite people into the schools and talk all about jobs and career opportunities and then not prepare them to be able to get the jobs. Globalization it's coming. It's not a question of whether you like it or not. When I first used to hire people at EY, we had a standard. It was generally, we wanted someone who came from an approved university with a .30 in their major or whatever. And I'd come across a nice Bermudian kid who's working a couple of jobs, their parents are doing 2 or 3 jobs, and they were just below our standard. In the old world, I'd pull them across. I'd say, you know what, I'm going to give them a chance anyway. Once we became global, can't do it. You have to hit the global standard. And the reason I can't do it is because if I make too many exceptions, then the Bermuda office inside the global world becomes known as an office that can't make the standard. And then when I come across a really, really smart young Bermudian that I want to place in London or I want to place in New York for experience, the EY world says, well, I don't know about Bermuda. They're a place where they can't really make the standard. When you're part of a global organization like that, you have to hit the standard. And I'm a proud Bermudian. There's no reason why we can't hit the standard. We're just as good as anyone else. And believe me, we punch above our weight. But every bit of juice in this fruit, all of our young people, we have to get the best out of them that we can. So that's the world we're living in today. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit about what constitutes a qualification. We hear this all the time. He's qualified, she's qualified, and a lot of times it's based upon their resume. They went to school. Well, I'm here to tell you that today, whether, I don't care, people think it's all exempt companies, but no, it's local businesses as well. Local businesses have to compete globally as well. They may not be all over the world, but their customer expectations are global. They're selling to Bermudians. Bermudians have the same customer expectations as everywhere else in the world. They watch TV, they know what's going on, they're on the internet. You can't half-step to a Bermudian in giving them service, even just because you're in Bermuda. So we have to be able to address that. I sometimes get a little emotional about it in the sense that I just think it's really, really important. It's an important issue. And when we talk about qualifications, it's not just the degree. Businesses hire on soft skills. They really do. The degree, I'm sharing something with people who aren't business people. The degree gets you in the door. The degree does not guarantee you're getting hired. If I'm hiring someone today, I want to know that they're a quick learner, that they're a good communicator, that they know how to develop their teammates. All of these are soft skills. And I'll tell you, they're lifelong skills. I sat behind a desk at EY. I sat on the board at HSBC. And at Saltus. The soft skills I used all the time. I was a busboy at Castle Harbor, working my way through school. And I learned some soft skills there, how to come out of my shell, because back then it was based not mandatory gratuities. You had to work to get the money. So I couldn't be shy. If I did, I'd be going home with empty pockets. I had to charm people, talk to people, find out what they want, what their expectations are. I did that. I developed that as a 17-year-old in a hotel, which is another reason why we need to revive the hospitality industry, but that's another topic. That can be the speaker next year. I used those skills every single day that I walked into Ernst & Young. When I faced my clients and my customers, they are lifelong skills. The accounting, PCAOB stuff, that changes every month. It's not the technical data, and technical data is the easiest to transfer. If you ask me to hire someone that doesn't have the technical knowledge, but they have all those soft skills, I can work with that. Someone coming in with the technical knowledge, but not having the soft skills, that's a hard mountain to climb. So we need to accept the fact that qualifications are a lot broader, and I get it because of our history, that people work hard, they send their kids away to school, they come back with a degree, and they say, my son, my daughter's qualified, so, give them the job. It's very, very competitive out there, and you have to be at a certain standard. The old way is not going to work anymore. It brings me to, even if we do all of those things well, and I think hopefully we can, if we do them all well, the fact is we still don't have enough people. We're going to need to invite guest workers here. And everybody in this room knows that. And I think it's like, I don't know, 11,000 guest workers on the island. It varies. We need to have a capital plan as to how we're going to attract those guest workers. When I used to go abroad to Dublin or to London, or Toronto, we never went to the U.S. Simply because the tax advantages weren't there. U.S. citizens have to pay tax no matter where they are. But in other countries, they'd love to come to Bermudan places because they get a tax break from their home country. I could put up a poster of a beautiful sunfish on the Harrington Sound or a beach, and the line was out the door. That's not the case today. People have choices as to where they go, and not only that, employers have choices as to where they want to sit their people. In my last year of EY, I think number may be fuzzy, but I think we exported something like 50,000 audit hours to Bangalore. That meant 25 people that I would have bought here, that would have been shopping in the grocery stores or whatever, didn't come. Because location is no longer strongly tethered to the job. And that goes for locals and internationals. So if you can't tell a business it makes business sense to have people working here, then they're going to put them where it makes sense. The old objective for us for immigration, which has a role to play, was that here's a job, I'll ring fence it, and I'll determine who can come and get that job. And some committee, I don't mean this disparagingly, but would look at a resume and you put in an application and they would say, no, there are Bermudians with this degree, go hire a Bermudian. You can't do that anymore because they can decide if they don't get the quality of people that they want here, they can base it in Nova Scotia. Halifax is a hub because they have a lot of universities there, a lot of young people, and it's cheaper. They can go to Bangalore, they can go to Stirling, Scotland. There are all kinds of places that they can go. So if you want them here, and we do, we need to be open for immigration, and we need an attitudinal change. A lot of Bermudians have changed, but there are some who haven't, and some of them are in my own family and neighborhoods. I understand the reluctance around immigration. I really do. People are worried about, well, someone's going to come in and take our jobs. And particularly if we acknowledge our past. And our past on immigration has been storied. We have denied a significant portion of our population, black people, the opportunity to do certain jobs in our history and would invite outsiders to come in and do those jobs that we couldn't do ourselves. Everything from bank tellers to you name it, executives. I get that. So there's a reluctance and a concern around immigration. But we also, I remind people that it was migrants from the West Indies who helped fundamentally change Bermuda and make Bermuda a better place. When you think of Edna May and Victor Scott, when you think of Dr. Gordon, you can even consider Mr. King's grandfather, Dr. King, who came here, I think from Trinidad, I'm not sure. We've had a lot of contributions from non-Bermudians working here. So I personally believe that immigration, if it's handled right, can be a net positive. But we need to welcome, I make the example, is like, because I'm big in Cleveland County, is like if we have a guest, if we want to win the cup, let me make it clear, if we want to win the cup, we got to field the best team. And sometimes we invite guest players to come in. Now, if I'm inviting the guest player to come into Cleveland, I'm supporting them because I want to win the cup. And what it means, let me be clear, what it means is my cousin Leroy, who goes to practice every day and works hard and wants to be on the team, may not make the team. And so we in Cleveland County have to decide, do we want to make sure our team has all my cousins on it, or do we want to win the cup? And sometimes those two things are not the same. We have to make choices. Those are the tough choices that we have to make. I would say that one idea I've always had is, when I was working, is I would prepare a capital plan, a human capital plan. All the businesses do it, formally or informally. And I always thought it would be better if the Minister of Immigration or the appropriate person in immigration looked at my plan, saw how many Bermudians I hire, how many Bermudians I train, what my future needs are going to be. Am I going to need more actuaries? Am I going to need more administrators? Am I going to need more accountants? And what my program is to attract them. And look at that plan and make say, okay, I'm okay with this plan. And then let me go off and do my job. Don't bother me, let me hire, do what I have to do. Call me in periodically. It could be once a year, once a quarter, and see what I've done against that plan. And if I haven't lived up to the plan that I filed with them, then I'm in trouble. And they have the right to say to me, punish me in the business in some way. I've always found that to be more efficient than still putting an application, but having it reviewed and someone coming back and saying, no, you can't hire this person. Whoever that person is, they don't know my business. They haven't interviewed all of the candidates. They can't appreciate the subtleties. I don't mind. I would always welcome people saying, look, there's this young Bermudian or young Bermudians out there, blah, blah, blah. I want to bring them in. But I think that you need to find a better way of addressing that. That's my suggestion. It's not the only one. I don't like to hang with people who think like me. Never worked for me in business. I find it much better off and get a better result if I can hang around with people that don't see life the way I see it. We have a much better result. So I'm not here to say that I know all the answers, because I surely don't. You could just ask my wife if you don't want to ask anybody else. But I will say that I want to open up and put this on the table because our young people are our most precious resource. And they are facing a world of uncertainty. You know, even, I don't want anyone to run here and say, Gil said this is going to happen. But AI, it's here. And don't even get comfortable, Bermuda, about we have all these exempt companies here, life business, P&C business, asset managers, and so Bermudians will get jobs. You know, today, someone in insurance will be able to say, I'd like to write this risk for this amount of money in this area, and AI can produce that. You'll always need the human beings for the judgment, but a lot of the tasks, both in international business and in local business, could potentially disappear. AI is coming so quickly, we're not even sure what the impact. Anyone who tells you they absolutely know the impact, don't buy anything from them. What we do know is there's going to be an impact. And we have to be flexible enough and quick enough and responsive enough to address it. So that's why I keep saying, we're preparing our young people for jobs that don't exist. And even if they do today, they will be fundamentally changed. So I know no one in this room has caused this issue. Like I said, everybody in this room is wonderful. But I do expect this group to address the issue and fix it. That I do expect. And it's a tough job. I want to say that I thank you, guys and ladies, for your service as parliamentarians and other government officials. Very challenging job. I was explaining this to a friend of mine overseas. 65,000 people, small community. Someone in your position, maybe. Police writes tickets. Maybe you work on the street lights. Fix the potholes. Anything much more than that in a small town goes to the state or province or the federal. Our MPs and our elected officials have a huge range to cover because we're both a small town and an island nation. Well, yeah, an island colony nation, whatever topic you want to put on it. I don't want to offend anybody. So that means that our MPs potentially have to address potholes and the OECD. That is a huge range. And we only have a few people from which to select. So those of you who have come forward, I commend you. You're in the arena. You're working. I'm not. I don't want to be one of those people that sit on the sidelines and throw bombs in and say, oh, yeah, all you got to do is this, all you got to do is that. I don't have to face the electorate, and you guys are in the arena, so I commend you for that. But we as Bermudians have the right to hold you accountable. And I can tell you, I am, and I think most Bermudians are really rooting for you. We really are. And so I think I'm coming to the end. Everybody still seems to be awake, so that's a good thing. Let me quickly see if as I said, I don't follow scripts very well. I just get up and ramble. So that could be a problem sometimes. But I do think that if we deal with this risk, because it's in our control, I believe if we give our young people the tools, that they can have the resilience, the confidence, and the ability to handle all the challenges that come down the pipe. We have good, smart young kids. I've mingled with them in schools. They really are good. And they deserve, they deserve the actual best that they can do. Personally, I'm tired of excuses. The excuses go back over 40, almost 50 years. And I assume that every single member of Parliament, every single minister of education has wanted to do the best that they can for Bermuda. I really believe that. I have to believe it. I refuse to believe anything other than that. But we do need to recognize that we are not as prepared as we need to be for what's coming down the pipe. And our kids deserve that. So, having said that, it is now my pleasure to thank you. I hope I haven't kept you too long. Walter told me a time limit. He said he'd chuck me out if I didn't adhere to it. But I want to thank you for listening to me. I also want to wish you well in your session going forward. Bermuda's depending on you. Mrs. Harvey back there is going to be keeping an eye on you. And believe me, you don't want her to keep an eye on you and not perform. So I thank you, and I too say, may God bless all of you leaders that are leading our country. May God bless our country. And I also want to give a shout out to our brethren islands further south who have been devastated. And oftentimes things, you know, they're in the news and everyone's excited, and then the news goes on to the next topic. But the peoples of Jamaica, Bahamas, and Cuba are in serious trouble, and I want us not to let that slide off of our mind. I'm sure a lot of people here in Bermuda are going to be doing things to help them, but I want to keep them in our prayers. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure to get up extra early to come here and spend it with you. I'm not saying I want to do it every day, but it was worth it today. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm invited to give a response and vote of thanks to Mr. Gil Tucker. And with Mr. Gil Tucker, that's a very easy thing to do. I'm also invited to be brief, and we're behind schedule, so please don't hold it against me if my words of thanks and response are very brief. Mr. Tucker has had and continues to have an illustrious career. And what's important to those of us in this room is that most of that career has been spent with public service and with charitable service. And we thank you for your service, just as you have kindly thanked us for ours. In particular, as the chairman of Bermuda First, when I was elected 8 years ago, someone told me, if you want to do anything useful, go read the Bermuda First report and go read the SAGE report. And I did, in fact, well, maybe not the longer SAGE report, the shorter one. And they are well worth the read, because a lot of deep thinking went into it, and there are a lot of great ideas that are still as valuable today as they were at the time. On a much lighter note to his illustrious career, I did not know you were an illustrious graduate of Boston College, so go Eagles. There we are. As to the response, I just have two very quick points from the wise words that were said. One is I'd like to congratulate you on being an honorary woman. As a husband, a son, and a brother of three sisters, I too know who runs the world. And secondly, in response, and more seriously, I think the point you made that we are on this island competing with the world is something that cannot be overlooked and cannot be forgotten and must be emphasized. We are meeting a global standard, and that is something we cannot forget. Yes, we are small, but as you recognize, we punch above our weight. And I will say something that might offend my mother, sisters, and wife, and perhaps we need to gain a bit of weight too, right? So that we can punch even harder to maintain our competitiveness in the globe. So those are wise words, Mr. Tucker. As to my vote of thanks, thank you for telling everyone in this room how wonderful we are. That's very kind. Those are your words, not mine. But I'm grateful to be reminded, I'm sure we all are. My very brief words to those of us in this room, we are all leaders in our own way. And if we approach that leadership with humility, with fellowship, with mutual respect, we will build the trust that is necessary to get us where Mr. Tucker wishes us to go. So thank you very, very much, Mr. Tucker. And I believe we now have the closing prayer. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick reflection as a lady who represents St. George and Harris's Bay, Mr. Gil Tucker. I don't know if you remember the Brangman family that lived just down the hill from Marston Methodist. I would say that, yes, that we were well represented here today. And often when I listen to speakers, there's a takeaway that I try to take away myself. And as I look around this room, usually we invite some young people to be with us, and I don't see any young people with us. Are they? Okay, good. Because I think it's very important. And one takeaway that I hope that you will take away from this as well is that if you are doing any events, any educationals, as it relates to anything that you're doing, if it is appropriate for our young people to attend, please have representation there. Because our young people are saying that there are too many adult events and we're not including them. So I'm going to close in prayer. Today I have the privilege and honor to close in prayer. If you just close your eyes with me. Heavenly Father, creator of heaven and earth, we come before you as one people, the people of Bermuda, humbled by your majesty and your grateful mercy. Lord, our island stands in need of prayer. We ask you to breathe afresh upon this land from the east to the west, to the north, to the south shores. Lord, we acknowledge that unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. So today we invite you once again to be the builder of our nation. Father, we lift up our people, our parliamentarians, every senator, every public servant entrusted with leadership. Grant divine wisdom and moral courage to lead not for power, but for purpose, your purpose. Align our hearts with your truth, O Lord. May we seek understanding before decision, compassion before judgment, and service before self. Remind us that to whom much is given, much is required. For every home in Bermuda, Lord, we pray. For the weary parent trying to make ends meet. For the youth seeking hope and belonging. For the seniors who carry the wisdom of generations. And for every heart that feels forgotten or unseen. May your presence comfort, uplift, and renew. Remind us that in every storm, you are still the calm. Lord, align our nation with your divine will. Let Bermuda stand as a beacon of righteousness, a haven of grace, and a testimony that a small island can have mighty faith. Help us to live not in fear or division, but in faith and unity, trusting that the Lord will perfect that which concerns us. So today we surrender Bermuda into your hands, our leaders, our people, our future. Do in us what only you can do. Heal our hearts, restore our vision, and lead us ever forward in your purpose, O God. Bless our schools, our churches, our spiritual leaders, our businesses, and our frontline workers. Cover our young people with your favor and guide them into purpose. Let Bermuda be known as a place where your presence dwells, a lighthouse of hope and harmony to the nations. And so, Lord, we close this prayer with confidence in your promise from Psalms 33:12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen for his inheritance. May your kingdom come and your will be done in Bermuda as it is in heaven. Amen.